In this video, we will be discussing the varieties and registers of spoken and written language, especially in the English language. So for us to be able to be an effective communicator, let us be aware of that there are varieties and registers, different varieties and registers of the English language, spoken and written. The goal for this video is for you to determine the varieties and registers of spoken and written English language for effective communications. Let us first discuss the language register. So, what is language register? Language register is defined as the appropriateness of the level and style of speaking and writing. So, the appropriateness of the level and style of speaking and writing. It guides a speaker or writer in the use of vocabulary, structure, and grammar. So, at least there are three language register that has been identified, and the most common ones are formal, informal, and neutral language register. So when we say formal register is the style of writing or speaking for unfamiliar audience or readers of your superior or for readers or for your superiors in an office. So it's formal. We will be discussing each registers in the next slide. So formal is the style the readers are unfamiliar or the readers are your superiors. Okay, informal is otherwise called as casual or intimate. It is recommended when writing, speaking to friends and familiar persons. So if your audience are your friends and familiar person, you'll use an informal register. So know your audience when you write or your audience of your message is either spoken or written. The third one is neutral. Neutral is more objective, impersonal and factual of writing or speaking. It's neither formal nor informal. So neutral lang siya, more objective, more on facts ang message. Okay, so remember this video is about varieties and registers of spoken and written language. We just discussed first the registers. After this, we'll be discussing the varieties. Okay, so the first common language register is formal register. From the word formal, it is a type of speaking or writing appropriate for formal speeches like public speeches or when you're writing articles, studies, technical reports, announcements like government announcement, public announcements, business letters, and emails for business purposes. So you use a formal register. There are a number of rules that govern the use of formal language register, and these are as follows. So when you use formal register, there are rules, and these are the rules. Number one, use the third person. When you say third person, dili first person, dili second person. When we say first person, we say I went to the market. Let's say second person, she went to the market. Third person would be neither first or second person. Say third person, it's the common noun, like the undersigned instead of I, the reporter instead of he or she. So that's use third person. Review when you write something in formal register, review your English 101. Okay? Number 2. Second rule for when you use formal register is avoid contractions. So when you say contraction, it's a word made by shortening and combining two words. So use would not instead of wouldn't, won't, cannot instead of can't. So avoid contractions. Dili mo i-shorten ang word. So contractions are, these are the common contractions in English. Aren't or are not, can't for cannot. So do not use contractions. Contractions are the one with apostrophe. But note that apostrophes are used to show possession, like in Jake's law office. That's not a contraction. It's not a contraction. So know what are contractions. And also apostrophe can be used to indicate a plural symbol or numbers. Example, BMWs, sevens, or etc. So know what is contractions and avoid using contractions. The next rule, Number three is spell out numbers below 100. So when writing, you have to spell out the numbers from 1 to 100. Beyond 100 or below 100. So 100 numbers now 100, but or 100 you write it down. But below 100 you should spell that out. Okay, so that's when you're writing in a formal register. Fourth, use formal words rather than slang and cliches. So example, formal words. When you were asked to, or you are going to write something about how nice the place is, you're not going to use dope. The place was so dope, because dope is an informal word. So know what are the slang and cliches. Review what are the slang examples of slang and cliches, and avoid that. Use formal words. And five is spell out acronyms. When you say acronyms like BSMT, that's an acronym of Bachelor of Science in Marine Technology. So spell out acronyms. Acronyms may be used in formal speaking and writing, but you have to spell it out first and put the acronym in parentheses. So, for example, if you're writing about your course, BSMT, you first spell it out and then write the acronym enclosed in a parenthesis, and then in the following sentences you can use the acronym already, because the reader knows that BSMT stands for Bachelors of Science in Marine Technology, or BSMARE. So spell it out first, and then the following sentences you can use the acronym. Okay, example, non-government organization, or NGO. And thereafter, you may use the acronym in the other parts of your paragraph, the NGO. Okay, number six, use complete sentences in your write-up or speech. So when you say complete sentence, you have the subject, noun, or you have the subject verb agreement. It's a complete sentence. So do not use or avoid the use of phrases and clauses or incomplete sentences. It should be a complete sentence when you write something or when you talk in a formal register. Okay, the use of, and then seventh rule is use an active rather than passive sentences. So it's preferred to use active rather than passive sentences. I will not further explain this because I assume that you've already discussed this in your previous years in the school, your English 101. The subject is about purposive communication, not English grammar. But yes, I will not explain it. I'll assume that you already know it. But an example is for your active sentences is use a singer entertained the guests instead of the guests were entertained by the singer. So when you say active, the subject in the sentence, the first one is the subject, and then the verb, and then the object. In passive sentences, the guests were entertained by the object. It's reversed: object, verb, subject. So that's how you know if it's an active or a passive sentence. So when you use a formal register, use an active sentence. Okay, number eight, simple sentences rather than compound and complex sentences would help make your write-up speech shorter and easier to understand. So simple sentences with an subject, verb, object sentence. The dili complex, like easier to understand, the better. Okay, number nine, use conjunctions. What are conjunctions? Conjunctions such as however, nevertheless, similarly, on the other hand, could help related or show contrasts in the ideas in your sentences. So to indicate transitions or imply continuity or cause and effect relationship in ideas or of your sentences, then use conjunctions. So, diba, you can read formal registers articles, like academic articles. This is very common. No? And it also sounds, you'll know, it sounds formal. However, this is what happened. So use conjunctions to indicate transitions or to imply continuity or cause and effect relationship in the ideas of your sentences. Informal language registers. So of course, it is the opposite of your formal. So formal, your audience are are the public, businesses, and all that. So you'll know. Informal language, again, your audience are your family members or familiar to you, close to you, your friends. So in informal language register, so again, it's used for informal and friendly letters, speeches, or for acquaintances, friends, and family members, thus written in an informal style. This is the type of writing you adapt for short messaging system like your text messages, friendly letters, personal emails, your diaries. No, your diaries are your own write-up. It's not, the audience is yourself. So, dili na kay kamo matter ang grammar and structure, right? In your formal register, the grammar, the structure should be well put together. But your informal, as long as it can be understood, there's no rule. Okay, your blogs. Informal writing is the opposite of formal letters, hence does not require formal and strict rules to follow. Here, you may use figure of speech, personal pronouns, symbols, acronyms, slangs, and even incomplete sentences, phrases, and clauses. So it's not strict. There's no rules to abide as long as you use, of course, proper grammar, because if you use proper grammar, then you can easily be understood. No, especially the simple use of past tense, the personal pronouns, and all that. So that's informal language register. And the third common language register is the neutral language register. So it's neither formal nor informal, thus applicable for non-emotional and factual themes. So non-emotional, because this is just like straight ahead in between your formal and informal. This style of writing or speaking is usually seen in articles, technical reports, and magazine reviews. So neutral. There's no sides of formality or informality. It's just factual, objective relaying of message. So that's neutral language register. So those are the three language registers. Very easy, very simple to remember and understand. Formal for if your audience are formal audiences, public announcements, formal speeches, what do you call this? For businesses. Informal, your audience are your family, your friends, so or anyone that is like just of your level. So like you're blogging, it's just informal. It's not for academic purposes. Neutral, that's neither formal or informal. So it's in between. So these are mostly can be seen in magazine reviews. So it's just a neutral tone. So now we go to varieties of language. When we say variety, it means that there's different kinds. So na variety, na ay laing klase-klase of language. It's not just in English that has a lot of varieties, because even our Filipino language has a lot of variety, daghang klase-klase. Even Bisaya, lahi ang Bisaya sa Negros, lahi ang Bisaya sa Cebu, sa Bohol, sa Siquijor, and all that. Bisaya, but there's naay differences. The same with the English language. So there are different kinds of English language used around the world. The reason for this is historical, because England used English as its native language for more than 1,000 years. And since they are conquerors, so they've disseminated their language as well as their culture. So eventually, the use of English spread in many parts of the globe, like Canada, USA, Australia, because of migration. Apart from conquering the land, nowadays it's because of migration, employment, and economic reasons. So since language is dynamic and culture bound, the differences in culture eventually resulted in changes in the original English. So like for example, in Australia, the English there is it's still English, but it there are words and phrases and cliches and slangs that they only understand because that is in relation to their culture. So yeah, and because language is dynamic and culture bound, it the differences in culture eventually resulted in changes in the original English language. So the culture affected the language and vice versa. So there are at least main varieties of English. We have British English, American English, and Australian English. There is also Asian English like Philippine English, Singaporean English, Chinese English, or what they call Chinglish. So these varieties of English differs. Lahi-lahi. They are all English, but there are differences. That's how amazing language is. The English language is like humans, or any kinds of language actually. They're like humans. We all are humans, yet we are all different. Ako, ikaw, and all those from different countries, we are all humans. But we are also different. The same with the English language. They're all the same, English, but there are differences. When we say varieties, kalahi-lahi, na differences. So for example, in English, the American English for color, spelling in American English for color is this. And in British, you have the U. No, but it is the same. Also the same as kanang favorite or favorite with a U. So that's the difference in spelling. Also, there's a difference in grammar. In British English, they would say, "Have you eaten all those fruits?" But in American English, they would ask you the same purpose, but different use of words. Like, did you eat all those fruits? So you can see the difference, right? That is due to the fact that British English at times use the present perfect tense of the verb, whereas American English would prefer using the past simple tense. Did you eat? Okay, have you eaten is present perfect tense. Okay, so they differ in grammar. So these are just examples, but there are many examples, and it would take us hours or days to cover all of that. So I'm just giving you an example for you to be aware that again, there are differences in the English language. There are varieties of English. Another example, when tagging questions, when you tag someone, for tag questions, the following varieties were observed between British and American English. So for British English, I'll upload these pictures in my Facebook, will I? In American, I'll upload these pictures in my Facebook, right? So when you're asking for this one is murag nangutana o confirm if iha bang i-upload ang pictures. So for British English, lahi ang ilahang gamit. Okay, but the same purpose. This is another example for British English. Have you eaten all those Happy Bee fried chicken? American English. Did you eat all those Happy Bee fried chicken? British English. Have you ever watched the TV series Provincia? Did you ever watch the TV series in Provincia? So that's one of the common examples of their differences, but you can understand it's just the same, right? Okay. Another differences is the use of prepositions. So in British English, the time is 15 minutes past 5. In American English, the time is 15 minutes after 5. The same connotations, different use of prepositions. For adverbs, the following varieties in informal speech between British and American English have been noted as well. So in American English, cases in the use of adverbs without the ly ending. So in American English, they don't have the ly ending. So they would say, Tagaytay was real good last February, or real cold last February. But in British English, Tagaytay was really cold last February. So here in the Philippines, we commonly use the American English, but magsagol pud ta, no? Magsagol pud ta, napod tayo British English. Okay, another differences that can be seen is in the meanings or semantic. So different spellings or word, but the same meaning. For example, in American English, cab means, in British, it's taxi. In American English, it's elevator. In British English, it's lift. So I'll be showing, there are different examples for that. Okay, so it's shown in the box. In addition, noted were differences in meaning in the use of the word quiet. In American English, the term quiet is used as an intensifier. So, like, he was upset a while ago. That was all right, but now he's quite upset, so we have to leave. In British English, quiet is used to lessen the intensity of the term. So, example, he was upset a while ago, so I was thinking of leaving. Now he's still quite upset, but I think it's all right to stay. So that's the difference. Like not the same meaning, but the same word, but different meaning. So it the English variety of English also differs in meaning, and this is just an example. So when you are talking in a multicultural setting, know the varieties of language. It may differ from your what you know is correct. So again, perspectives, and again, to prevent argument on who's right, respect first and understand. Understanding and respect comes in handy when talking in a multicultural setting.